get this week's convening of the House Select Committee on Helene Recovery called to order. Again, appreciate all of the state recover through this unprecedented storm. As we have in previous meetings, I'd like to take just a moment to observe a moment of silence and remember that we lost 104 individuals in this storm. So let's take just a moment of silence in remembrance of those folks. All right, thank you. We do have a busy agenda today. We expect considering a number of amendments to our hurricane relief bill. Just a little bit of housekeeping that I need to do before that gets started. I'd like to take just a moment to introduce our Sergeant at Arms and thank them for all they do in all of our meetings. But today's Sergeant at Arms are Jonas Cherry, Warren Hawkins, Malachi McCullough Jr., and Stafford Young. They're situated throughout the room, and we certainly appreciate all their assistance day in and day out. Just a moment to also introduce our house pages. It's good to have you all with us and hopefully give you an opportunity to see how legislation is made, or as we say, how the sausage is made down here. But we have a number of pages. Chance Favors, who, if you would stand and be, okay, thank you. Raise your hand. He's sponsored by Speaker Destin Hall. Lythan Nguyen, did I say that right? Okay. Again, Speaker Destin Hall. Kennedy Reed. Kennedy Reed. All right. Good to have you with us. Kelly Roa. Good to have you. Christopher Vidal. Good to see you. Tyrinia Wall. Tariana, I'm sorry. I knew I'd butcher one of them. Good to have you with us. All those sponsored by Speaker Destin Hall. We do have a special guest for today's meeting. I wanted to take just a few minutes to address the committee. And so I think he's ready, and without further ado, I don't think we have to do a lot of further introduction. It's good to have Speaker Destin Hall with us today. Mr. Speaker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, committee members. And I thank both chairmen for giving me just a couple of minutes to speak to you today before the committee really starts, because you all have been doing the work. But I wanted to come today to start the committee. So as you all already know, the public and the folks in Western North Carolina will know as well, our commitment as a House body to making sure Western North Carolina hurricane relief gets done correctly and that it gets done quickly. This bill that I think you all are going to hear today has about $500 million, billion with a B, for hurricane relief in Western North Carolina. This is in addition to the roughly $1 billion or so that we've already appropriated at the state level. And the important thing for folks to know is that this is just the next step in this process. This is not the first step. This is really the third step. It's our third bill. How many will we need? How many steps are going to be in this process? Somebody asked me earlier, how many bills are we going to need to do this? And my answer is, and I know you all feel the same, it's going to be as many as it takes for us to get it done, to rebuild Western North Carolina, to make sure people can go back into their homes, to make sure that the mistakes that have been made in the past in places like Eastern North Carolina with hurricane relief, that those are not repeated again. And I know we're well on our way to that. I thank this committee for your service. You all, this is voluntary service on this particular committee, and I know you all have a heart for the entire state, but especially Western North Carolina. You all have spent a lot of time on this. You spent time in Western North Carolina. Many of you are like me and from Western North Carolina, and it's been a true committee process, and that's what I intend for this committee to continue to do. Want to thank the Trump administration for the work that they've already done in a very short time after coming into office. President Trump's first visit from the White House after being sworn in was to Western North Carolina. He came into Asheville, and I, along with some of you all and some of our federal delegation, had a chance to meet with him and talk to him and show him and tell him about the needs that are there in the western part of our state. And I've been very pleased with the response of the administration. We saw the Transportation Secretary yesterday in Western North Carolina. And that kind of thing matters. It shows their commitment to us because we know it's going to be not just a state thing, it's going to be a federal responsibility as well. And so they're working very well with us. I want to thank the governor as well. I know he's worked in good faith to do all that he can to make sure the mistakes that we saw previously in the eastern part of the state don't happen again. And last I'll say, as to the east, we're going to continue to work on that as well. We have another committee that's doing some work on that. We're going to make sure those people get back in their homes. It's been 8 years since Hurricane Matthew, and we still have thousands of people living in hotels. It's completely unacceptable. It's a disgrace, quite frankly, and that's why you've seen us work so hard and so quickly on this committee in Western North Carolina Relief to make sure that those mistakes are not made again. And so thank you for your work. Please know I'm behind you guys 100%. The people of Western North Carolina know that this body is with you. We're going to do all we can to bring relief, and we're going to fix the issue in Western North Carolina as well as the rest of the state. Thank you all. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and for your commitment to making this a top priority of this body and all your support. All right, we do have a number of items of business for today, and primarily we're going to be considering some amendments to the original bill that was filed. And because of the fact I'm actually presenting a couple of those amendments, I'm going to turn the gavel over to my co-chairman, Mr. John Bell, Representative John Bell.
Thank you, Representative Green and members. And so first of all, before we begin, what we're going to do is we're going to run through the amendments that we received. And the last committee, if you remember, the rules for the committee were clearly put out in front of every member. They were put out to the general public. They were placed online. We had a process that was to be followed. You even received an email updating and reminding you about the process. So if you did not hear your amendment today, it means you did not follow the process according to be set out. And so your amendment will not be considered, or your amendment was late and past the timeline, your amendment will not be considered. We did that in order to expedite the process, knowing that we do have other committee stops along the way, plus working with our colleagues in the Senate. So with that said, we'll start the amendment process. I do know that we have had conversations with many members in here. I'm going to read the amendments out. If you are one of the people that wanted your amendments withdrawn, or we have worked on how to move forward with your amendment, there was some issues there. This will give you an opportunity to state that publicly as we continue to move forward with some of those. So we'll just wait till your amendment gets forward. Some of them will actually be included in other amendments, so we're going to try to move through expeditiously. So we'll start with the First Amendment. Before we get started, any legalese needs to be said? All right. So I've been given instructions. All right, so the First Amendment, if you do not have these amendments on the dashboard or need a copy, I think we can make that work out for you. The First Amendment is from Representative Green. The amendment number is H47-AMH-1, version 4. Representative Green, you're recognized for your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is considered a chairman's amendment. In working through with staff, there were 4 staff-identified technical fixes, and it is primarily most everything in this amendment is technical in nature. One of them ensures that money goes out this year and not in 25-26. It also added or outlined some administrative expense for the Office of State Fire Marshal to administer the grant program for fire departments in the affected area. It expanded the waivers for funeral establishments who were damaged or destroyed in a natural disaster. There were 2 funeral homes in my district who were displaced as a result of the hurricane. They've been operating under temporary measures. They needed those deadlines extended. And so this bill strives to do that. And then finally, I believe there is a permanent fix to a temporary solution in broadband infrastructure repair, basically authorizing a lot of the temporary repairs that have gone on as a result of the hurricane to be considered permanent under certain circumstances. But I'll stand for any further questions and submit that for your consideration.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, Representative Shepherd, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Is that calendar year or fiscal year?
I'll defer to staff, but I believe it's fiscal year 25-26.
It's fiscal. Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, we'll move forward. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Being chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. And Amendment H47 AMH-1 version 4 is accepted. Thank you, Representative Green. Next amendment is from Representative Gillespie. Representative Gillespie, you can speak right there or speak from the podium. It is amendment number H47-ABR-3 version 3. Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before I speak on the bill, I'd like to take just a couple seconds and mention the central staff and their efforts in drafting this and other amendments, as well as the Speaker's office. We wouldn't be here today with these if it weren't for you guys, and I appreciate you very much. The last person that I want to mention, I have to tell a quick story. She had an appointment Monday in her district, and I tabulated how long it would take her to get here based on the time that she said the appointment was, and she got here an hour and 15 minutes sooner than I tabulated. She came straight to my office and jumped in with both feet and helped put this thing together. So Representative Balcom, thank you. This wouldn't happen without your help. This amendment pertains strictly to agriculture items. It allocates $75 million, a total of $150 million rather. 75 is split. Part goes to soil and water, the other goes to Department of Agriculture. What we did was we talked to a lot of stakeholders in trying to determine what the most immediate needs are. This by far is not all the money that we need, nor is it the last time that we're going to revisit this. But what we do believe is that we've got the money to the best of our ability allocated for what our farmers are indicating that they need to be done now. And first and foremost that is when we start talking about crops, we are accustomed to crop loss. We are accustomed to crops blowing down, etc. What we're not accustomed to is the dirt that we plant the crops in now being located in Tennessee. I did talk to the governor of Tennessee, and he said that he would be glad for us to come get the dirt, but he didn't volunteer any help past that. So this bill focuses on getting our farmers back in the fields, get the ground ready for plantings again. That's what the focus is. So I'm happy to go through any details in the bill and stand for any questions.
Any further discussion or debate from the committee? Members, if you would allow the chair a little leeway here, just so members of the general public know, and just so members of the committees know, this provision is dealing with agriculture in Western North Carolina. It is the chair's understanding that Representative Dixon and others on the Agner Committee will be running an additional bill, more than likely launching next week, that deals with some of the agriculture issues we have across the whole entire state. So I wanted to be sure that was publicly mentioned. because these will be running simultaneously as we move forward. We know there's a tremendous need out there for agriculture across the whole state and western North Carolina. With that said, any further discussion or debate on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Opinion chairs, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it, and amendment number H47-ABR-3, version 3, has been passed. The next amendment for the committee is amendment number H47-AMH-3, version 5. Representative Pickett, you're recognized to send forth your amendment. And you can speak from your chair or from the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Committee members, this amendment has to do with tourism in Western North Carolina. We have got to do something to help get that business back up and running. We worked through many things over the last week trying to figure out exactly what we could and couldn't do. We came up with this as a first step, but I want all the folks in Western North Carolina know that this is just the first step. This will be an ongoing item that we will be discussing. But briefly, this amendment adds $5 million for marketing to help people know where to go, what they can do in the mountains, and areas that may be off limits is to help those places get back up and running. And there's also $55 million in here for Department of Commerce, for local governments to expedite and get infrastructure fixed in the business areas to get them back up and running. And I appreciate your support.
Any further discussion or debate on the amendment? Seeing none, the motion before you is the acceptance of Representative Pickett's amendment. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, like sign. Seeing none, the opinion chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. And amendment H47-AMH-3 has been passed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
The next amendment before us is amendment H47-AMH-7, version 1. Representative Pless, you're recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment is going to take the money and further define what's set aside for the fire departments. Had a lot of vehicles that were damaged, had a lot of buildings that were damaged in Western North Carolina. I specifically have 2 in my town, or in my county, that were damaged, and I have 1 in Madison County. So this would send the $10 million to where they could use it to repair fire stations. They could use it to repair rescue squad buildings or ambulance buildings if they don't have any insurance. And I'll stand for any questions.
Any further discussion or debate on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any opinion, chair? The ayes have it. The ayes do have it. And amendment number H47-AMH-7, version 1 has been passed. Next amendment before the committee is amendment number H47-ALU-A-1, version 2. Representative Pless, you're recognized to send forth this amendment.
You got it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This amendment came about because of my experience with Tropical Storm Fred. Eventually, the FEMA money is going to stop, and folks are going to need housing while HUD or some other state funds are being used to rebuild housing. And this is just to bridge the gap with what we've already sent forward if something happens and folks need rental assistance. I stand for any questions.
Any further discussion or debate? Representative Balcom, you're recognized.
How would this money be like, and it may be for staff, how does this money get, the process of rental assistance, like how are we going to put that out? How do they apply? Like where would this, how would that work?
Representative Pless, you can answer that question, or I'll defer to staff if you'd like.
Staff could probably answer it better.
Mr. White, eyes all on you. Deferred.
Jared Simmons, Bill Drafting. Representative Balcom, it references the same manner in which rental assistance is provided for in Session Law 2024-53, Section 4B7, which states that The county departments of social services shall provide rental assistance to individuals who reside temporarily or permanently in counties in the affected area that qualify for FEMA individual and public assistance categories A through G. And it shall be limited to households at or below 200% of the federal poverty level who have suffered hardship due to the impacts of the hurricane. These households shall receive a one-time payment up to the HUD local area fair market rents measure for a 2-bedroom unit, and payments under this section shall be used to assist households facing a housing crisis such as imminent risk of eviction. County departments of social services may use up to 5% of that original allocated amount for administrative costs.
Thank you.
Any further discussion or debate on Representative Pless's amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Any opposed? Opinion chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it, and amendment number H47 ALU little a-1 version 2 has been passed. Next amendment before the committee is amendment number H47-ANI-6 version 3. Representative Pless, you're recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In light of Representative Pickett's amendment earlier addressing this situation, I'd like to withdraw this amendment.
Thank you, sir. Your amendment has been withdrawn. The next amendment before us is amendment number H47-ANI-4, version 5. Representative Prather, you're recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this amendment would modify the previously passed local government cash flow loan program. The $100 million that we previously appropriated that is in the treasurer's office right now, we structured it as a 0% interest loan to local governments that they would then have to start paying back after a year. And so this amendment would not change the amount of that money, but it would change that into a forgivable loan program instead. So that local governments would be only paying, making interest payments, and the term of the loan would not extend to past 2030. So our local governments, as I'm sure you all know, have seen a huge drop in sales tax revenue, but are also struggling in collecting property taxes just because of all the craziness that's going on there right now. And so this would give those local governments more flexibility and would also allow us to get the money out a little bit more quickly. Thank you.
Okay, and Representative Prather, this amendment, as we discussed before, would change the trajectory of the bill and have it move to a 5-day bill. And so I'd ask what you'd like to do with this amendment.
Understood. I can withdraw this amendment at this time. I do hope that we will, as we are continuing to look at money for local governments, that will continue to consider the opportunity to do, PPP style or forgivable loans, as these local governments are still struggling and will continue to struggle for a long time.
Thank you, Representative Prather. Your amendment has been withdrawn, and look forward to working with you on how we navigate this as we move forward through the process. Next up, we have amendment number H47-AML-1 version 2. Representative Green, you're recognized.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This bill, as most of you know, there's been a lot of debris cleanup going on in the affected area there. Much of that debris is household debris and so forth that has been delivered to the roadsides and the right-of-ways in order for it to be picked up. I understand in most areas that highway cleanup with machines is coming to a close pretty soon, but even if they do that debris removal, there's a lot of residual debris that is still left out there on the roadside. So this amendment directs the Department of Adult Correction to coordinate with the Department of Transportation to allow for the use of inmates to clean up the residual debris relating from Hurricane Helene on public roads and roadsides in the affected areas. I'll stand for any other questions.
Any further discussion or debate on this amendment? Representative Ager, you're recognized.
Just a quick question, and thank you. So how would that impact the contracts that obviously the counties and the local governments have provided or have already signed to get that debris removed?
Representative Green, you're recognized.
Yes, I'll defer to staff, but if I don't get it explained well enough, but as I understand it, this is just directing a coordination between the two, and if to make sure we're not interfering with any of those contracts and so forth. Mr. White may have additional information he could offer.
Mark White, Fiscal Research. Representative, the amendment is permissive in allowing DOT to work with adult correction for an inmate cleanup program, and I believe that it will be supplemental for the existing contracts and existing programs that are out there.
Any further discussion or debate? Seeing none, all in favor of the amendment will say aye. Any opposed, like sign. Seeing none, in the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. And House Amendment H47-AML-1 version 2 is approved. Thank you. Next amendment is H47-ALM-2 version 6. Representative Green, you're recognized to send forth the amendment.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this amendment deals with how we could be supportive of volunteer organizations in the region who are assisting in the disaster. There is actually an acronym that is recognized federally, and I believe in a lot of our state statutes as a VOAD, which that's exactly what that is, a volunteer organization assisting in disaster. Most of those are registered through either FEMA or North Carolina Emergency Management. And they are doing some great work in connection with home rebuilds, in connection with driveway and bridge repair, and any number of these areas. And this amendment seeks to support them in that endeavor, in that if there's any state property, whether it be backhoes or track hoes or dump trucks or even pickup trucks that are at state surplus and we just have sitting on the lot waiting to be disposed of, this directs the North Carolina Department of Administration to publish a list of those items and make those items available to either local governments or VOADs that are involved in disaster relief activities. It makes them available as a loan for 5 years, and at that point, they can't dispose of them for 5 years. But at the end of the 5 years, if they do dispose of it, the funds have to be used for some public purpose. There is also a provision in here to allow these VOAD. Currently, local governments are able to purchase equipment and vehicles and so forth under state contract. But the second section of this amendment allows VOADs to purchase equipment and vehicles and so forth through state contract. And so I submit the bill for your consideration and be available for any questions.
Thank you, Representative Green. Any discussion, debate on this amendment? Seeing none, all in favor will say aye. All opposed, like sign. Seeing none, the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it. The ayes do have it. And Amendment H47-ALM-2 version 6 has been accepted. Thank you. Next up is Amendment number H47-AMH-4 version 2. Representative Ager, you're recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this amendment is it's simply taken $50 million from the state parks and OSBM money that's for state facilities, and instead using that for giving it to Department of Revenue to create and administer a Helene Business Recovery Grant Program. I just think it's important that as we look at this, we're losing businesses in Western North Carolina every day, and we've got to find a solution. And I think this would really go a long way in keeping some folks solvent through to the summer when business picks back up again. So that's really what this does. There's more language in there, but certainly open to any questions.
Representative Balcom, you're recognized.
Question, is the Department of Revenue set up to do this kind of program?
So, it's hard to find somebody set up to do it. I mean, we've been allocating money in this situation for several, like to the Treasury that wasn't set up to do it. And so I think the Department of Revenue can figure it out, but, may take a little bit of time, but we can certainly push them to get it done quickly.
Have you talked to them about it? Are they aware?
They are aware.
I'm sorry, I wasn't paying attention. Representative Balcom, you got to follow up? Okay. Representative Blackwell, you got to follow up, and then I need to speak. I think I can resolve the issue.
Yes. Question for the amendment sponsor. One of the concerns that I have is that our state parks and trail systems in the western part of the state are a big draw for tourism, and that's part of the economy out there. Are we robbing Peter to pay Paul here, or how are we going? Do we need to make further provision later that you think is less important than what you're trying to do for the repair work that needs to be done in the parks?
Representative Ager, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think we're certainly robbing Peter to pay Paul here. I'd love to raise the number, but obviously that's not within the rules, so that's not what we did here. But I do think taking care of the businesses and getting the economy going is awfully important, but all of it's important. You're right.
Any further questions? Representative Ager, the Representative Pickett's amendment actually withdrew the funds you're requiring, so your amendment would actually need to be rewritten and reworked completely. So I ask that you withdraw the amendment and let us work on some language that may work to address your issue, if that's your wish.
I'm happy to withdraw and just work on it here as quick as we can.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Amendment number H47-AMH-4 version 2. The next amendment is amendment number H47-ALM-3 version 1. Representative Boyncey is recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This one deals with just making sure that we are prepared in Western North Carolina to deal with wildfires. Given the announcement of Mr. Chair of the bill that's going to be worked on next week, I would like to withdraw this amendment.
Thank you, Representative Boyncey. Your amendment will be withdrawn, and Representative Gillespie, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate the member bringing up the wildfire issue. We are working with the agency to figure out the best pathway forward to address that, and we will be bringing forth some ideas for future legislation. But thank you to the member for bringing that forth.
And Representative Gillespie and others, thank you for willing to work that out to get to the point where we need to. So we appreciate that and look forward to having this back before us in another form. Next up in this, I believe this is the last amendment that we have, amendment number H47-AMH-2 version 3. Representative Logan, you're recognized to send forth your amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This amendment, we were asked by the Catawba Riverkeeper. This concerns the northwest area of Mecklenburg County, Riverside Drive. A lot of homes were totally destroyed there. At least 46 homes are irreplaceable. Mecklenburg County is in the process of buying out a lot of those homes. 170 homes along the Catawba River are damaged. The funds would go to stabilizing the bank of the Catawba River, Lake Wiley along Riverside Drive. And with further erosion, this threatens infrastructure and additional property. And additionally, the degraded water from the erosion could impact the downstream drinking water intake for the city of Belmont. So they're needing $2 million to fix the riverbanks along the Catawba River to help stabilize it and prevent some of these issues with the flooding that occurs there along Riverside Drive. Every time we have a severe storm, this has occurred to where we've lost numerous homes along the Riverside Drive there in northwest Mecklenburg County. I stand for any questions.
Representative Balcom, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My question is can't they apply just like everyone else for those same funds? Why are we just earmarking them?
In the opinion of the chair, they can. This actually would be a carve-out just for that area, and it's the only carve-out in the bill.
Okay.
But the way the bill is written, in the opinion of the chair, they can apply for those funds already.
So we're already giving them the option, correct? So we've already given them the option. This is just carving it out to force it.
In the opinion of the chair, yes.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Any further discussion or debate? All right, had two hands go up, Representative Allard and Representative McNeely. Representative Allard, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My only question, my geography is not perfect, but my only question is this related to Hurricane Helene, the Catawba River downstream from Helene, or what's the relationship with Hurricane Helene relief, which this bill is about?
Thank you, Representative Allard. And there were parts of Mecklenburg County added to the declaration of the Hurricane Helene. Okay. So this part would fall into that one. It's just the way the amendment is written, it's a carve out for this specific entity that they could already apply to the bigger point, and this will be taken actually from debris removal.
Thank you.
Representative McNeely, you're recognized.
Just looking, there's $150 million it appears to be coming out. Is that correct? In soil and water? Or is it 75 million? 75 million for soil and water and 75 for the Department of Agriculture?
75 to my knowledge, but I defer to staff.
Right.
They're nodding their heads to 75.
Okay. This project could well be done with soil and water then.
Any further discussion or debate? Representative Tyson, you're recognized.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we table the amendment.
Representative Logan, I'll give you the option to withdraw your amendment, or we can move forward to a vote. Since the funding is already there, they can tap into. But this is your amendment, so I'll yield to your decision making.
You said to withdraw it?
Yes, ma'am. You have the option to withdraw it, and that's what recommended. That's what recommended to Tyson. Representative Tyson made the motion to basically withdraw your amendment, but I did not accept that motion yet. You're the amendment sponsor, so I wanted you to give you the option of withdrawing the amendment or put forth to a vote.
And he wanted to withdraw it for what purpose?
If I remember the discussion we had, is that the funding for this project is already there, and this will be the only special carve out of this kind in this entire bill for funding that's already there. So your folks would need to, the Catawba River Basin folks would just need to apply to the funding that's already in the bill. More than likely they would receive it because it's in a disaster area with a need. If your amendment goes forward, you would actually be carving that funding out as a special carve out for just the Catawba River Basin, and it'll be pulled from debris funding.
So voting it down, they still get to apply for it?
Yes, ma'am, but I wanted to save the trouble of the committee.
Well, let them vote it down.
Any further discussion or debate? All in favor say aye. Any opposed? Any opinion of the chair? The noes have it, the noes do have it, and amendment number H47-AMH-2 version 3 failed. At this time, we have no further amendments before the committee. If your amendment did not meet the threshold, it was not presented, it was either withdrew, ruled out of order, or did not meet the rules set forth by the committee. If you need any discussion or have any questions about that, please see us after the committee meeting, and we're more than happy to go through that with you. So with that said, any further discussion and debate from the committee? Seeing none, Representative Green, you're recognized.
I have a motion at the
For a
appropriate
motion.
time.
The appropriate time will be now, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to make a motion unfavorable for a report unfavorable to the bill, favorable to the proposed committee substitute as amended, with leave for staff to roll the amendments into a new proposed committee substitute and to make technical, conforming, and clarifying changes with a referral to appropriations.
Thank you, Representative Green. Members, you've heard Representative Green's motion. Any further discussion or debate on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The opinion of the chair is the ayes have it. The ayes do have it, and the bill is adopted, will be referred to rules, and this committee is adjourned. Thank you.